Some would say the Sacramento Kings had a great chance of pulling off a 19-point comeback victory on the road in Indiana. I say the Sacramento Kings wasted a great opportunity for a learning experience for their young guys down the stretch of a close game. I'll explain right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And I need to admit something first before we dive into this episode and this conversation that I want to have tonight on Locked On Kings after the Sacramento Kings lose 116-105 to the Indiana Pacers. I was very much so hate watching, cranky watching this Kings game. Right. I was not enjoying myself whatsoever watching this game, watching this team. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think the vast majority of people watching the Sacramento Kings are probably not enjoying themselves too much, whether you're a Kings fan or just a casual viewer. In fact, Nick Angstead, the host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, was watching the Kings-Pacers game tonight. And he acknowledged that the Kings are maybe the toughest to watch in the league because of this team. So, there is good in this game, of course. Like the Kings going down by 19, closing out the third quarter on a 9-0 run, carrying that over to the fourth quarter where they took a lead. And then ultimately they fell apart towards the end. The Pacers able to win this game. The final score, the Kings losing by 11 points. Like it doesn't do justice of how close this game was at the very end. I do acknowledge that, but I don't care. Like I'm telling you, I'm warning you now, this is just going to be kind of a pessimistic episode. I know I saw the comments after the Kings Kings win in Miami, and the podcast I did after that, where we got to kind of enjoy that win a little bit. And I didn't just love the Kings winning the game and Zach LaVine going off for 42. I loved how the young guys played in that game. That was a positive episode, and those episodes seem to be far between right now with this Kings team. This is not going to be one of those positive episodes. I'm sorry to break it to you that way. They're just like, this team is so uninteresting. They're just not intriguing. They're not fun. They're boring despite the names that are on this roster, right? Brendan Nunez has put it out there a number of times from Sacktown Sports 1140, put it out there again on social media tonight. Like, what are the Sacramento Kings good at? They're just not. They're not a fun basketball team to watch. I was not surprised at all that the shot making from Miami didn't translate to tonight, because as great as that performance was against the Heat, one of the things that I pointed out, and I didn't do it to be pessimistic, I pointed it out because it stuck out to me. The Kings assisted on less than half of the baskets that they scored in Miami. They were just making shots, and it was great. It was a great display of shot making that we probably should see from this team a little bit more, given the offensive firepower that they have. But more often than not, those shots aren't falling. Once again, they weren't tonight. They fell behind by 19 points to an Indiana Pacers team that was 5-18 coming into tonight's game. Granted, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, whatever. It's not a great Pacers team, and the Kings still found a way to fall behind by 19 points after beating the Miami Heat, who are a good basketball team in the Eastern Conference. Again, I'm glad they fought back. Ultimately, it fell apart at the end, and the opportunity that the Sacramento Kings had that they did not take advantage of in this game. Doug Christie did not take advantage of this. And I understand the reasons, certain guys playing well, veteran, blah, 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 blah. You had an opportunity to have, in a close game, final 6 or so minutes of a close game, throw your young guys out there. In particular, I'm talking about the rookies, but I would have loved to see a lineup of Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, Nick Clifford, Keegan Murray, Maxime Reynaud. You got some veterans in there. Russell Westbrook having a heck of a game. I'll talk about him in a little bit because he does deserve praise despite the Kings losing. You got a couple veterans. You got your two rookies, and you've got Keegan, who is supposed to be taking that next step in his career. And we'll talk about him too, because we got to be critical of Keegan Murray, who's just not making shots. He's not. All that's still coming here on the pod. That's the lineup I would like to see, because here you are. I don't know how many times you're going to be in a clutch time, close game opportunity for the remainder of this season. More often than not, the Kings are losing and they're losing by double digits. Technically, they did lose by double digits tonight, right? Here you go. Meaningful minutes, important minutes. Have your young guys out there. To be fair, Maxime Reynaud did close out this game. He did play the final 3-4 minutes or something like that. And if we're being 100% honest, he got cooked. He almost immediately didn't catch a pass on a pick and roll opportunity from Russell Westbrook, resulted in a turnover, went down on the other end of the floor, was scored on a couple of times, had a bad foul towards the end. The game was kind of out of reach at that point, but still had a bad foul there at the end. Like, Max did not play well. He made a lot of mistakes over the final few minutes of this close game while the Pacers closed this out. Guess what? He's not the only one, but I'm not going to fail to acknowledge that. The point is, though, I want Max to make those mistakes. And I want Nick Clifford to be out there to make those mistakes with him. Zach LaVine made major mistakes down the stretch. DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, everybody made mistakes down the stretch. The Kings completely fell apart over the final couple of minutes after taking full control of this game. The Pacers couldn't score, and then suddenly they couldn't miss and got multiple offensive rebounds, and the Kings lost towards the end of this game. Do you mean to tell me it would have been that much worse had Nick Clifford been out there on the floor instead of like Zach LaVine? Would it have been that much worse? I'll tell you what, it would have been more worth not just our time as viewers, it would have been more worth the time for the Sacramento Kings organization. Doug Christie, it would have been better for you. I'm sorry, but had the Kings won this game with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan completing this 19-point comeback, yeah, we probably would have felt pretty good about it, but ultimately, would it have mattered? No. And again, I acknowledge this is kind of a cranky, pessimistic take, but my point is, I'm future focused. I'm looking forward. I've seen enough over the first 20 some odd games of this season. I think we're at 24 games now of this season to know that none of these dudes, none of these veterans are really going to be a part of the Sacramento Kings future. And if they are, then the Kings are going to be bad for a while. So focus on the young guys. Give them an opportunity in clutch time of a close game on the road against a beatable Indiana Pacers team. Let them go out there. If they win you the game, amazing, phenomenal. That's the one way where a win is not really a bad thing. And if they lose because they dribble the ball off their foot or commit stupid fouls or make mistakes, fine. They're supposed to. I'm okay with them failing. I'm okay with Max failing over the final 3-4 minutes of this game as long as he learns from it. And what we've seen from Maxime Reynaud over the first month and a half of his NBA career is that he's learning quickly. No surprise. He's a Stanford grad. The kid's brilliant. Make use of this opportunity. Make use of this time. This season is lost. The only way to revive this season outside of making good moves at the trade deadline and securing the best draft pick possible, the only way to turn this season into a success is give those young guys an opportunity to succeed, fail, shine, and grow. Let them learn in these moments. Don't just have Nick Clifford sitting on the bench watching as these veterans fail to close it out again. You know what's funny? The Kings, top 4 in plus minus. I know plus minus not the best stat in the world. I'm not a big fan of plus minus. But sometimes plus minuses reveal things about your team. A lot of times they do. You can't, some people try and take and use plus minus to mold them to their argument. I promise you that's not what I'm trying to do here. I was just looking through and this jumped out to me. You know who the top 4 players were in plus minus for the Kings tonight? Keon Ellis was number 1. Maxime Reynaud, number 2. Max was the only Kings starter with a positive plus minus. It wasn't great. It was like plus 2, but he still had a positive plus minus. Neek Clifford and Keegan Murray. Boy, that sure is weird, huh? Those top 4 guys, the guys who should be playing more than anybody else right now, and 4 guys that actually have a chance of being part of your future. Those 4 guys are the top 4 in plus minus. Maxime Reynaud played 23 minutes in this game, finished with 13 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers. Neek Clifford played only 14 minutes. I don't know why. Doug, I don't get it. 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 2 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 1 block. Good moments, bad moments. The point is they had moments. Give them more. Give them more. But I do have some love for Russell Westbrook. Don't want this to be all negative. I do have love for Russell Westbrook. He had a 24 point, 13 rebound, 14 assist, triple-double. Played 40 minutes in this game. Would I have liked to see him play less? Sure, but he's playing at the point guard position where the Kings have virtually no depth, especially with Dennis Schroeder being out. So I'm a little more accepting of Russell Westbrook playing 40 minutes than I would be DeRozan or Levine playing 40 minutes. Another element of that too is because 1, Russ plays hard. He plays with a tremendous amount of heart. And 2, you can tell when Russ is on the floor with the young guys, he's very intentional about giving them opportunities and making the right plays that involve them. Doesn't always work. Sometimes Russ does his Russ thing and maybe gets a little too tunnel visioned, a little too selfish, attacking the basket, making a bad play, whatever. He didn't make too many of those tonight, but we've seen it before. That being said, no one has gotten the ball to Maxime Reynaud more than Russell Westbrook has this season. Russ was also very intentional about getting the ball with to Neek Clifford. That's why I wanted Russ and DeMar DeRozan out there with those young guys and Keegan to close out this game, because I think DeMar DeRozan has also done a good job fitting in with that young guy lineup. And if I have to take DeMar DeRozan out to put Keon Ellis in, I mean, sure, that's great. That seems a little less realistic to me. Having the 2 rookies out there with Keegan, Russ, and DeRozan to close out a close game. And you can swap DeRozan out, I guess, for Zach LaVine if LaVine's having a better game, but he didn't tonight. DeRozan had the better game than Zach. Like, those guys are interchangeable. But that's not an unrealistic request. And in fact, is one of the best things I think the Kings can do for themselves right now to try and make some aspect of this season matter. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work just as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money, trade stocks and ETFs, options, features, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood Strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Just to show you, I'm not just a guy that picks on the veterans and ignores the faults and mistakes of the younger guys or future-oriented guys that I do like. We got to be critical of Keegan Murray right now. Keegan has now been back for 8 games. In tonight's game, he had 8 points, 3 of 11 from the field, 1 of 5 from three-point range. He's shot 11 attempts over his last 3 games. Each game, he's taken 11 attempts. I need that number to get up, and I'm glad to see him aggressive. I'm glad to see him looking to score more, take more shots. I've talked about that a lot over these 7-8 games since he's returned. That being said, you got to start hitting these shots, Keegan, especially from beyond the 3-point line. If you want to showcase your ability as a top guy. Again, I don't expect Keegan Murray to ever, at any point in his career, be a number 1 or even a number 2 offensive option. But I stand by what I've said from the very beginning. There is no reason to me why Keegan Murray can't be what Michael Porter Jr. was to the Denver Nuggets when they won a championship. At times, a 3rd or 4th option. Now, I know a Michael Porter Jr. comp isn't the best in the world because he certainly has his faults and he's rotting away on that terrible Brooklyn Nets team. Shout out Jordy Fernandez. Love him. I don't understand why Keegan is struggling to shoot the basketball as much as he is. And it's been a steady decline, truthfully, since his rookie season. And I'm sure there's a lot of factors to it. There's a lot of excuses I can make. I've probably made them all before. The reality is there's no more excuses. His last 4 games, 3 of 11 from the field, 6 of 11 from the field, 2 of 11 from the field, 5 of 12 from the field. At least he had that 6 of 11 game in there. But Keegan, you got to start making shots. It's a small sample size, only 8 games this season, but he's shooting 44% from the field. That number's too low. 27% from three-point range. Now he's getting a lot less just pure catch and shoot three-point opportunities, and he's trying to shoot more off the dribble. That's good. Keep experimenting. I like that, but that's only going to take you so far. Like I talked about, we can't go through the next 4 months of this season, 3-4 months, however long it is of this season, and just live off of, well, I'm glad Keegan's being more aggressive and shooting more. He's going into he's in his, 4th season? He's going into his first real major NBA contract at $25 million a year next year. Like, you're not a rookie. That's how I'm talking about Max and Neek. Good, keep shooting. Try, just be aggressive. That, as a rookie, I can get through a whole season of that being the focus. Hopefully the shot making arrives at some point as a rookie, but you're trying to figure it out. Keegan, you're not trying to figure it out. You're trying to showcase what you can do at this point. And Keegan has straight up not been a consistent enough bucket getter, shooter, scorer, what have you, since his rookie season for fans to have any sort of confidence, the Kings to have any sort of confidence that he can be more than what he is, which is a really good rebounder, a really good defender, and a 4th to 5th option offensively in your starting lineup. He's going to have more opportunity to showcase it. I'm not writing him off after 8 games. Of course, I'm the biggest Keegan Murray fan on the planet, or one of them. I do very much believe in Keegan Murray. But at some point, my man, you got to start knocking these down. You got to. The Kings can't. This is your last chance. This is your last chance. And you're going to finally get a true chance to show what you can do as a offensive top option, a primary focus option. It's only going to get hopefully better for him with opportunity once the trade deadline passes and the Kings get some of these veterans out of here. The opportunity is only going to get better for him. I certainly hope. Make the most of that opportunity, man. Just being more aggressive. Like, that was good for the first 4 or 5 games. That's going to wear off real quick. Got to start knocking down those shots. Uh-oh. Jonathan Kuminga talk is back, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Jonathan Kuminga got DNP'd by Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. I think that was last night. And now there's a report out there from Mark Spears. Let me make sure I find it and share it correctly. Yeah, from Mark Spears, who is a big fan of the show, or friend of the show. I hope he's a fan of the show, but a big friend of the show. Love Mark to death. Mark shared Malik Monk might still be available in a trade package for Jonathan Kuminga, but the previously included first-round pick is no longer expected to be part of Sacramento's offer. Can't say I'm surprised whatsoever. Kings taking that first off the table. I think it is the right thing to do because the Sacramento Kings circumstance has changed. Maybe Scott Perry didn't expect this Kings team to be very good. I don't think any of us expected this Kings team to be this bad. But as it stood even before the context of this season, Kings first-round picks are very, very valuable around the league. Why? Because if you can count on anything with the Sacramento Kings, it's more often than not, they're not going to be a good basketball team. Teams know this. A Kings first-round pick has a unbelievable amount of value. Unbelievable around the league. Because it could be a gold mine for a team in the future, even if it doesn't convey 3, 4, 5 plus years down the road. The Kings know they're god-awful this year. I don't think they were ever going to include, I hope they were never considering including their 2026 first-round pick in a Jonathan Kuminga deal. If they did, they would be getting destroyed right now. Even if Kuminga was on this team, I don't think the Sacramento Kings would be that good. Maybe they'd be a little bit better. Maybe they'd be a little more interesting. They wouldn't be that good, and they wouldn't have a draft pick this year. Scott Perry, there'd already be mobs in the street trying to get Scott Perry fired. So Thank God he never did that. Thank God he never bowed to the whims of the Golden State Warriors who, hey, man, you got what you wanted. Good on you to get those negotiations done. You won those negotiations with Jonathan Kuminga, but you made sure to structure that contract so that you could have him in place for this mystical, magical, wonderful star trade that you're still looking for to give Steph Curry one more opportunity to win a title in Golden State. Good luck finding that trade, my friends. If you find it, good on you. And it's the Golden State Warriors organization. They're a 10 times better organization than the Sacramento Kings have been, and at this point, maybe can even hope to be. I say that with full understanding of the circumstance. So Golden State Warrior fans, you know I'm not just hating. But hey, Jonathan Kuminga is still there. He's not playing, or he didn't play the other night. You still got that problem that you got to figure out. And the Kings do not have at all to put a first-round pick on the table if they don't want to try and get that deal done. And again, if the response is the same now as it was during the summertime, well, then fine, you Kings don't get Jonathan Kuminga. All right. No skin off our back. We suck. We'd suck with him too. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm hoping I won't have to exhaust my audience and myself by doing so many Jonathan Kuminga episodes now during the season, but that's going to be something to keep an eye on as the trade deadline gets closer and closer. Like I said at the top of the show, this episode of Locked On Kings is also brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. You got live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props updates as guys heat up. You can bet who scores the next touchdown, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Yesterday, the Sacramento Kings assigned Devin Carter to the G League Stockton Kings, and Carter was not available or in uniform for the Sacramento Kings tonight. Not that it matters. Had he been there, he would have just sat on the bench and watched this game like he's been doing since, I think, November 12th was the last game that he got into. We've talked about it, like Devin might not play a single second for the Sacramento Kings ever again. I'm glad, though, that they're not just wasting his time. Like, if he looks at that as a demotion going down to the G League, so be it, buddy. At least you actually get to play basketball outside of practice. So I don't care a whole heck of a lot about what Devin does in Stockton. We've seen him tear it up in Stockton before, proving that he is an NBA caliber talent. He was a lottery pick for a reason. I do believe he's an NBA caliber talent. I just don't believe it's going to be here in Sacramento. So maybe this is his way to get reps, maybe sweeten his trade value a little bit around the league to where a team is willing to take him in addition to like DeMar DeRozan for a deal. Maybe he sweetens the pot for a trade going forward. He's making around like $5 million this year or something like that. And the Kings already picked up his option for next year. So we'll see. But Devin Carter, if you want to see him play basketball, he's going to be playing, in theory, with the G League Stockton Kings. Before we wrap up, we haven't done one of these in a while, and I can't say I'm too happy to be doing them a lot. But hey, let's go and do another one of our Tankathon Sims, draft lottery Sims, shall we? Here we go. Tankathon is open, and as you can see, the Sacramento Kings and Indiana Pacers now have identical records, meaning they are both tied in that 4th or 5th spot. Of course, the Kings also have the same record as the Los Angeles Clippers, who technically, the Los Angeles Clippers, Kings, and Pacers all have the same odds at making it into the top 4 at 47.7%, and all have just above 12% odds at the number 1 overall pick. What's crazy, of course, is that the Clippers pick goes to OKC. So the LA Clippers continuing to lose is actually a disaster for the rest of the league. Everybody, myself included, should be rooting for the LA Clippers to figure this out and start winning some basketball games, because if the Thunder they're going to probably get at least one more lottery pick. They also have Philadelphia's pick this year. They have Houston's pick, but Houston is good. If oh God, I can't even stomach the idea of OKC getting a top 3 pick. But let's see. Let's do a tankathon sim here to wrap up this episode of Locked On Kings. Maybe we can end with a high note and see how the draft lottery would go if it were today with the Sacramento Kings. Again, 47.5% chance at the top 4, a 12.3% chance at winning the lottery outright. Here we go. And the Kings fall down 3 spots to 7, which is such a likely Sacramento Kings scenario. How many times have the Kings picked in that 7-8 range over the years? The Charlotte Hornets jump up 6 spots to win the lottery. Utah jumps up 6 spots to get second place. The Indiana Pacers up 2 spots, so they end up getting the 3rd pick. OKC at least gets the 6th pick in this scenario. But yes, that did not go as planned. So everything sucks. Everything sucks here on Locked On Kings to wrap up this episode. I hope you still are able to find some sort of fun with this podcast and with this team over the remainder of this season. Again, it would help if, like we talked about at the first segment, Doug Christie played the young guys, especially in opportunities to win the game where they have a chance to shine, or at the very least have a chance to learn. Does that make sense where I'm coming from? Do you agree, disagree with those takes? Any thoughts that you want to share on the state of the Sacramento Kings right now, this loss to the Indiana Pacers? Let them fly. Hit me up on Twitter at MattGeorgeSack. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, and feel free to leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. I appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.